Indy's ready.
Okay, that's brilliant. So obviously we're here to talk about Good Boy, and I was just sort of wondering where the idea for the film came from, where the idea of working with your own dog came from with it. Was it the case of you knew you wanted to make something with Indy, or was it just sort of a happy coincidence that you had the idea for the film and also wanted to work with your own dog?
So the idea for the movie definitely predates Indy.
Mhm.
I can trace it back several years before Indy ever existed. I was watching Poltergeist for probably the millionth time, and
Yeah,
if you remember, that film begins with the family golden retriever wandering around the house, clearly clued into the fact that there's a haunting
yeah.
going to begin before I'll put the real Indy down. Good dog. Anyway, so there's this trope in horror movies that, dogs are clued into the evil before any of the human characters pick up on it, whether it's a creepy force in the basement, a creepy old neighbor, whatever. And I started trying to figure out how would you tell a story entirely from a dog's point of view, um, to then kind of test the waters of what would that work like cinematically? How do you even do shot reverse shot? I started making little test films with Indy
Yeah,
because he was my own dog, not thinking he would be the final, main character. But some of those tests really took off. They won some short film contests, and Indy was nominated for a Best Acting Award. And that kind of forced our hand. And by that time, I'd really figured out this unique way to work with him and get a performance, I think, kind of unlike what you see in most films. So
yeah.
it was a very slow decision to kind of figure out how this was going to work, and the result of a lot of testing and experimentation.
So what were sort of the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome to make the film how you did? Because I think you can tell watching it that a lot of like technical thought went into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is very unlike any other conventional film, in the sense
Absolutely.
that, most films are made for, it's a 12-hour workday and you just do a 12-hour workday day after day until the film is done. Dogs can't do that for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that their attention span is only a few hours long. They say don't work
Yeah.
with kids and animals, and that's one of those reasons. So we made the film a few hours a day over the course of years. We filmed for over 400 days over 3 years.
Wow.
Um, and just, an hour or two a day. I think the most we would ever get is 3 hours. And then at a certain point, Indy turns into a pumpkin and you just have to try again the next day.
Yeah.
So time being the most important resource is, I think, one of the most different and difficult things. And beyond that, it's just the dog is an enormous X factor. I would frequently spend all day setting up for a shot. My wife and I were the entire cast and crew for principal photography for that period in which we were filming in our own house, decorating to look that way. I'd spend a whole day setting up a shot. I had a stuffed doll version of Indy that I would use as the model for his stand-in, so we could,
Yeah.
use his few hours as efficiently as possible. And Indy would just want to do something else. The situation would, and you can't really fight it. You just kind of have to embrace it. And maybe the something else he wants to do works or it's better. But more often than not, you have to kind of figure out, all right, didn't do what I wanted, but here's what he can do. How can we work with that? So
Yeah.
a lot of problem solving.
And so that brings me really nicely to my next question, actually. How did you sort of elicit the reactions that you do from the dog? Because obviously the ghosts aren't there, the things that are happening aren't happening, but a dog doesn't know that, and you obviously can't instruct them, act scared sort of thing. So I was wondering how you elicited those reactions, and then what did you do in sort of the downtime to get them, I suppose, in and out of the moods that you needed?
Yeah. So I think I love the question, how did you get Indy to look scared, which comes up a lot at film festival Q&As. And
Hmm.
the simplest answer is that Indy is never scared. You're
Yeah,
scared, and you're projecting your feelings onto him. To explain that a little bit more, I think Indy's superpower is that he has this very intense, unblinking, unpanting stare, which as a filmmaker, if you film that and then you show his point of view in a reverse shot, the audience does math and will project what they're feeling onto him. So if
yeah,
we see him staring off camera very intently, and then we show a dark corner where a shadow moves, and we cut back to Indy, and he just takes a step back, audiences are like, "Well, that's a terrified dog." It's not.
yeah,
You're scared, and you're throwing that onto him. The reality of what we would do with Indy is that he will very intensely look at us just naturally. It's the kind of expression, I think a lot of dog owners might recognize in their own pets, like the moment
yeah,
before they, put the food in the bowl or put the ball down, or um, Indy, will do that if you get his gaze. So what is happening in reality off camera, the production audio minus all of the incredible sound design and music, is my wife and I going to get him to look at us or say funny words, make funny sounds, do silly things to get him to look the way he looks. And the magic of the editing is what brings the performance to life.
One scene, like speaking of that, that really I was wondering how you did was the scene with the dog, like the doghouse when Indy's being pulled into it. I was
Mhm.
wondering how you did that scene.
So a lot of the filmmaking is there's a lot of kind of early cinema camera tricks in the movie to make it work to create, especially in like the more action scenes, create the
Yeah.
illusion of tension and in some cases like physical force. So much of that is shot in reverse, where
Yeah.
the force is going the opposite way. So there's scenes
Oh,
where,
okay.
not to give anything away, where it looks like Indy is being pulled towards something. What's happening in reality is that just off camera, my wife, the film's producer, Indy's dog mom, is just holding his back legs, and then I have a tennis ball just off camera he's trying to run towards. If you reverse the footage, it looks like he's trying to like
Yeah.
get pulled towards it. So there's a lot of little tricks. We also sped up and reversed footage. So if you speed ramp things up or increase the shutter speed, it gives it a more visceral edge that kind of adds that sense of danger. Um, it also is in some cases as simple as there's scenes where if you play with your dog and film it at the perfect angle and then edit it into a like really fast-paced montage, you can kind of create this really thrilling montage, which in
Yeah.
reality is just you scratching your dog's belly and he's going rah, 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 rah.